from town to town with a horse trailer dragging behind. Just a cowboy lost in a modern world. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Not a day goes by, don't think about how my life used to be. Now I'm out of my prime and I'm losing time, and nobody's calling for me. They used to call my name come roundup time. Now the four-wheelers takes my place, and the cowboy life that I've always loved is getting lost without a trace. But I won't give up and I won't give in. I'm a cowboy till I die. And I know there's got to be a place for me underneath big western sky. Headed out west, gonna do my best to leave the civilized world behind. Just me, my saddle, and an honest horse will try to go back in time, where surely there'd be a warm campfire or a bunkhouse calling my name. But tonight I'll sleep in my pickup truck, 'cause I'm still not playing their game. The world may turn, but the thing they can't change is the way I feel inside. A prairie fire may burn itself out, but you can't snuff a cowboy's pride. I'll be what I am and I'll do what I do. This life is worth fighting for. Yeah, the cowboy life is a life for me and 10,000 more. The cowboy life is a life for me.
Welcome back to True Horse Horsemanship. As I did in the previous video, I've had to voice over this. This is the same little spotted horse. We're getting on the harness. And, you know, thanks to Jim, the owner, he did a lot of prep work that saved me time on my end. He took a lot of ropes like I did in past videos with behind the hocks on the feet and such things as that, and which helped this horse get used to the harness and where it hangs. So thanks to him. And a side note, Jim's been watching my videos even from the time I was out in California, and then we end up moving here to Tennessee, and we end up being neighbors, which I thought was pretty neat. And found out there's a few people here in the area that have been watching my videos. Like I said, my process on this, first I ground drove the horse one day, and she did pretty good, because remember I did all the saddle work, which helps in here too. So my driving alliance is connected, as we say, to the feet. And of course got a stop and a back on her. Now, getting a horse right here, I'm just asking her to take off a little step forward, and then we stop. Because there's sometimes when you're working a horse on the harness, that first step off slide will be the scariest, and when we make the turn, they feel the lines on them, on their hocks. And here, you know, she's doing real good, but like I said, Jim's got to take credit for that, because he did that, which makes this job easier. Some people likes putting weight on it, and first off, I don't like, all I want her to do is pull the skid. Sometimes I'll take a short log and hook them to that, but with this mare I knew I could go right to the skid, and that's what we did. So we're just, you know, with teamwork, and think safety first. With this horse being on a harness, this is her third day under harness. I don't want her to get in trouble, because if she does, she's liable to not want to pull. So I'm not doing the weight. And the only problem I was having with Jim, he's holding a little bit too tight. He's not keeping her straight. I want to keep this horse straight. It's not like a saddle horse. And that's like why with her, when I was riding her, I didn't use my spurs, because I didn't want to get her reacting to that kind of pressure since she's going to be in harness. And this is where that one step at a time really counts. And with me and Jim both have a hold of her, we can keep her going straight, and we pretty well keep her under control. And timing is very important here, because a lot of people, if they're trying this, what they do, they react way after the horse reacts, and you don't want that. You want that horse to react. So we just take one step at a time and just turn her. On my turns, I started out with wider turns, and as we go along, we turn them tighter and tighter. I can't go on enough about safety, because there's so many things can go wrong with getting a horse under harness. So every horse takes a little bit longer. Some horses I might ground drive longer than I did her, but like I said, I already did my saddle work, so that helped out. Some horses I might have them pulling a little bit different things before I go to a skid. And I didn't use a round pin because we'd have to turn so much. Yes, if something happens, it might be easier to get to her, but on the other hand, something happens, more apt to get hung up in the round pin. So luckily enough, I got help with Jim, so I can do it this way, use a team system. And I want her to learn she can stand there for a good while. And each time I'll ask her to stand longer and longer. Because she's got to learn to stand in harness too, not just to move. Now we're going to switch sides just because I feel more comfortable on the horse's left side, because I'm going to start putting a little bit of weight on the skid. And what I'll do, I'll get her feet moving. I'll have Jim get her feet moving. And I've still got control of her left side because I'm keeping my long line in my hand. And I'll just, while the horse is moving, I'll step on the skid. Then I'll get off. Then I'll step on it again. Let her pull a little bit. And I'll do this longer and longer each time. Well, I really need just a little bit less weight for it. And I got the ideal person for that. So we just let her rest again. You know, especially when you first start these horses on the skid, you don't want to do too much. You don't want to ever get them sore, because if you get them sore, once again, they're going to want to stop pulling. So I got it, you know, like everything else, it's one step at a time. So here's my ideal situation. Pull little Miss Cindy out from behind the camera, which I don't think she is too keen on, and have her get on it, because she weighs a lot less than me and Jim, so it'll be easier for this horse to walk off with her sitting on the skid. Now right at that time, since Cindy weighs a lot less and she little filly's used to pulling a little bit of weight, I just walked off with Cindy. And at first I'm not going to give Cindy driving lines, because all I want Cindy to do for safety's sake is realize if she has to bail off the skid, she can. So that's the only thing she's got to worry about. She don't have to worry about the driving lines. Now here shortly I'm going to hook up my driving lines, and at first I just want Cindy to hold them. I don't want her to do anything. I don't want her to turn her or nothing. And I think that's what we're doing here, getting the lines situated. Funny thing about it, while this is going on, at one point I asked Cindy to stop the mare, and she gave me a funny look like, how am I going to stop the mare? And the reason she did that, I preached to Cindy so much working with little ones, stop her Mustang, about how to just use her seat. And she's thinking, how can she use a seat to stop the horse? Excuse me. And then, like I said, I wish the camera took the look on her face when I said that. And I said, just pull on the driving lines. But, you know, that's the way Cindy is. I tell her to do something, she's going to stick in her head. So as we're going off now, Cindy's got the driving lines, and I'll have Cindy start taking control of the horse while me and Jim's up by her head. That way, you know, number one, it's going to keep the horse relaxed, because where the horse is crutched, it's going to keep Cindy relaxed, because, you know, she knows we're up there. And as we drive there, like right there, Cindy asked for a whoa. And there was one time I told her, said, physically, you know, speak to the horse, say whoa. And I like using voice commands, even when the horse don't know it. Like when I want them to get up in the collar, I'll say, walk up. And that, you know, eventually that'll be their cue to get up in the collar and start pulling. And the most I use walk up and whoa. I don't use too much G and ha. And one thing I also do, and some people driving don't like doing it, but I do. Let's say I want to go to the left, I'll take my right driving rein and I'll tap them with that on the butt for their cue to go left. Because even my driving horses, I want to be out of their mouth as much as I possibly can. I want them to know how to give to the bit, but also I want them to be able to, you know, I don't want to have to pull on them. I know I had a little paint horse in California that I was pulling on doctor's buggy, and somebody saw me, you know, cantering around the arena and everything, loping. And she asked me, said, how are you turning that horse? I said, just my finger. I just touch that mouth and he follows that direction. And that's the way I want it. I don't want to have to pull hard. I want just slight touch and they go with that feel. Doesn't matter if you're under saddle or in the harness. Because you got to think about it, it's got to be more pleasurable for them to do it that way than somebody pulling on them. You know, I haven't started a harness horse for a long time, and I'm enjoying it. Something different. Now here I'm took my line off and just let Jim be up there. Like I said, Jim and me, we're just a safety net if something happens. Because this little filly's second time on the skid. And just like everything else, we do stop and rest, stop and rest. Because I can't say, it's just important, especially with harness. They learn they got to stand there and be relaxed and not be fidgety. And plus, give the horse a breather. The horse is doing good, so just let her catch a breath, and then right there, Cindy told the horse to walk up, and off we went. And now we're making a little bit tighter turns with Cindy back in on the skid. So it's filly, like I said, being the second time on a skid and pulling, everything, she's doing pretty good. I'm quite pleased with her. You know, the 3 P's here: patience, persistence, person. Persistence is just important as under saddle. So here I'm taking over driving lines for a little bit. Once again, Jim wants to pull the horse over too much. And like I said earlier, it's important to keep the horse straight. Now your ground person, especially like right here, I want Jim in front of that horse a little bit so the horse sees him. You got to remember, the horse got blinders, and if you're beside the horse can't see you. So now here I'm basically, Jim's just there, I'm driving her. And the first time on a skid, I'm not worried about going both ways. I'll just concentrate on going to the left. You know, hook her up to the skid again, and then we go right and left. Because I've noticed through the years, if I get this horse comfortable, turn to the right, going to the left is not going to be that big of a deal. They might get a little bit worked up, but it's a lot easier if they catch it on quick. You know, right there, Jim's got hold of it too much, so he's just got to relax. Let me take over. But it's Jim's first time working with a harness horse too, so like I said, I just want him there for if things fall apart. Now right there, if you look, you can tell I didn't really pull on that horse much to stop it. And that time, like I say, with my weight, she walked off pretty relaxed. You know, a lot of times, I got another horse here I'm thinking about getting under harness. As he has issues. In the past, I've had horses that had a little bit of issues. And I'll put them in harness for a while. And when I go back to saddle work, I got a different horse. Number one, they get used to working. And there's something about putting a horse in harness that helps fix a few issues. Now, I gotta admit, I said earlier about not working the horse too long. This session went so well, it was hard for me to just stop. But when you're working with horses, it's not all about you. It's about the horse. And like I said before, if I can make my training sessions short and everything goes well and not get the horse sore with the harness and all, and we just increase our time working with them. Because more and more the horse gets in shape, it's going to be easier for them to pull you in the skid. Now here, when I go to unhook the horse, Jim wants to sort of keep the horse, but I want to teach her not to really depend on Jim. So I grabbed the line from Jim, I unhook her myself. Right there, I'm going to move her hip over a little bit. So, that was a pretty nice move, considering, like I said, this is the only second time this horse being on a skid. Now, I don't hook the chains right up to the single tree, not the first few times. I got a little trick for safety's sake, because if something happens and that single tree breaks off from the skid, you'll have the single tree bouncing all over behind the horse, and that will really spook him. So here in a minute we'll do a close-up, and I'll show you what I do. And while we're waiting for my old butt to get over to the camera and Jim come over here, people, and Cindy brought this up about training with blinders and no blinders. I've asked old timers about that, and some would say they start off without blinders, and some say they always use blinders. And one day I was training a Mustang for a fellow who provides the horses and mules, teams and six-up for the movies. And I asked him that question, and he just looks at me and said, well, common sense tells me. Now right there I use baling twine on the end of my chains and tie that to hook it up to a single tree. So hopefully the baling twine breaks. But back to what I was saying about the blinders. The fella said, the horse is going to be in blinders when you take them on the road or wherever. So why even put yourself or the horse through it? Just start with blinders and keep them on. And I like his way of thinking. And like I said, this is a guy who furnished horses and mules for all the major movies, even Lonesome Dove. Them mules was his. So was the gray horse that was in there. So, I hope you enjoy this. Sorry for the voiceover, but I want to get these videos out here. One on her saddle with her for the first ride, and this one. Everybody thinks it's easy to make a video. You just put the camera up and start recording. Well, you gotta have a sound system. You gotta make sure everything is charged up. And with technology, you might think something's charged up, and all of a sudden, you don't have a charge. And my sound's a lot better than it was way 13 years ago when I started this out. And it's important to have these videos where you can hear me. So I got new sound system ordered, and it's coming. And also I think I'm going to start the round table back up. Of course, now they call podcasts. Well, I was ahead of my time. I do have a podcast on speaker.com, and I think Apple and another one, but it's not getting hit, so I think I'm going to go back and use YouTube and filming my podcasts. So I hope you get something out of this. As I always say, be true to the horse, they'll be true to you. First and foremost, be true to yourself. God bless and take care.